Where is he? What is going on? What happened? Where is Matt? Why is he not on the screen? What is going on? Hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing? All the folks starting the day with a dose of kindness. Yes, we are. But here's the deal. The first mistake was tying a rope around my waist. The second mistake was tying the other end to the handlebars of a bicycle. And the third was believing that watching Rocky III repeatedly had somehow qualified two sixth grade boys to design an athletic training program. But honestly, it worked. It worked on flat ground. It worked going uphill. And then the road changed. Good morning, my friends. Today on Kindness Rising and Without a Net, what happens when the thing you created started chasing you? Was what staged or real? Me showing up? I hit go live and then I realized I didn't have my headband on and I ran over to the other side of my huge room here to put it on, and that was what was happening. So sometimes life happens. Gotta have it. Gotta have my bandana. Good morning, Kathy. Glad you are here. Good morning. Good morning. It's a little bit of a wild morning this morning. My kids slept in late a little bit. Keith, I know. Guess what, dude? She hit the snooze. Yep. I told her, don't hit that snooze, but she did it. So I helped her get ready and get out the door. And that's why I was like, no bandana. What? All right. Here we are. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Kindness Rising, your morning dose of hope, humanity, and heart. Absolutely. And occasionally there's evidence the human brain does not develop before middle school. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about more today. Another Ernie and Matt story. Following our theme, Own the Mess. Yesterday, I told that story about the paint cans where Ernie and I were building our little athletic apparatus, and wood snap paint cans went flying down the stairs with an oil-based rainbow visible from space. And yesterday's lesson was simple. Everybody spills the paint. Healthy people and healthy teams tell the truth about what happened and own the part and begin the cleanup. Today, we're taking the next step because the first mistake is not always the thing that causes the most damage. Sometimes the real trouble begins with what we do afterward. When we defend it, we minimize it, or continue because stopping would be embarrassing. We keep running even after the conditions have changed. So today's lesson is called The Second Mistake, and our big idea is everything compounds. Be careful what you set in motion. So let's begin. All right. Jerry Ginger's in the lab. Mornings in the Lab is in the lab. Melissa Neiman from Midel Studios is in the lab. Wow. Well, I must be very popular today. I'm so glad everybody has joined me. Welcome to Kindness Rising. We are going to continue the conversation, and I'm going to tell another ridiculous story about two idiot pubescent kids trying to figure out how to get jacked up and ready for their next athletic season. So let's get right to it. Think about the last mistake you made, not the largest mistake, just something ordinary. You missed a little deadline, you forgot to respond to somebody, you misunderstood what someone needed. Maybe you made a decision with incomplete information or said something that landed differently than you intended. That original mistake took a second. Boom. But what happened next? Did you address it? Did you avoid the person because you felt uncomfortable? Did you clarify a misunderstanding? Right? Or did you admit that the deadline was going to be missed? The original mistake is often an event. The second decision, though, that's what becomes creating the pattern. You missed the deadline, first mistake, but then you avoided the conversation. Then the other person starts planning around inaccurate information. And when they find out that it was inaccurate, that trust weakens. Now the deadline is no longer the only problem. You say something hurtful to somebody else, you see the reaction. Instead of becoming curious, you immediately defend your intention. I didn't mean it that way. Maybe you didn't, but now the other person is carrying both the original hurt and the message that their reaction is somehow unreasonable. A 5-second comment can become a 5-month, 5-year, or forever distance. That's how mistakes compound. One choice creates the need for another choice, then another and another, until we're no longer responding to the original problem. But remember, compounding works in both directions. One honest sentence can interrupt the chain. I missed it. I misunderstood. I need help. I think we should stop and rethink this. I was wrong. Those sentences may not solve everything, but they stop us from making the next mistake automatically. The first mistake may already be behind us. The next decision is still ours. That is today's Kindness Spark. All right. Glad you're all here. Welcome. You like this little tune here, Melissa? I appreciate you. That's the Kindness Rising Spark theme for sure. Yeah. Okay. I got to get our clues going here. Like I said, I'm a little off my game for the time, but we'll get there. Doesn't matter. Here's our clue. Every day here on Kindness Rising, we have a little fun. We call it our Who in the World Challenge. I'm going to give you three clues throughout the episode, and you are going to tell me who I'm talking about. And Keith, if you're still out there, maybe working out, getting ready for your show, ears up, Billis. I got a Canadian in the Who in the World. So there's a free clue for everybody. All right. Here's our first clue. This competitive young athlete. Holy shit, Sully. Well, you just ruined the game, dude. What? I love it. I love that you knew who it was immediately. We'll still do the clues and we'll still have the game. But Mike Sullivan, first clue, dropping in, saying, that's it. Terry Fox. Anybody remembered the Terry Fox story? Nice, Sully. Nice. That's awesome. Great story, Terry Fox. Okay. Well, we'll talk more about Terry Fox later, but here's a clue. Now that you know Terry Fox, I'll give you another clue, a hidden clue in our kindness spotlight. And again, I didn't bring up the website today, but we'll get there. All right, yesterday's story involved two idiot kids, one and a can of paint, right? Absolutely no plan for what would happen. Today's spotlight gives a much better model for moving together. Achilles International brings athletes with disabilities together with trained volunteer guides for running, walking, and wheeling. The guide doesn't just drag the athlete, not as cargo, and they don't move side by side. They communicate, they adjust their pace, they pay attention when the road changes. The organization's Achilles International was founded by Dick Tram, the first amputee to complete the New York City Marathon. And after reaching his own finish line, he helped create more starting lines for others. That's how positive momentum compounds. One athlete inspires another. One guide volunteers. One person begins believing something new may be possible, and healthy momentum happens. It's the people learning how to move together. That's Achilles International, and that is today's kindness spotlight. Achilles International. Absolutely. All right. It reminds me, as I was saying that, I was remembering a story. I always like to interject a story. I don't know if I ever told you all this, but I had the opportunity to do the classic backpacking trip through Europe when I was in my 20s. Flew over there, flew into Paris and out of Rome, and just did a nice, fun little run through Summer of Love. 98 is what we called it, and it was a good time. Anyway, I get on a train, an overnight train going from, where were we going? I don't even remember where we were. We were going through Germany because I remember we were in the Black Forest at some point. But anyway, get on the train. It's the only night train. My buddy and I who were traveling were like, well, let's do a night train. We've never done it. We're going to pay the little extra sleep in the cabin and just have that as an experience. Well, we couldn't afford to have our own cabin, so we bought a shared cabin or whatever. Got a ticket in a share cab, and we get in there, and there's two dudes in there. The long and short of it is, because this wasn't supposed to be the story, is one of the guys is sponsored by Nike, and his buddy, who's his guide, that's what the Achilles International team, our story triggered for me. His buddy was his guide. This guy was blind, and he was he was from Venezuela, somewhere in South America. I think it was Venezuela. Fastest blind sprinter in the world, sponsored by Nike. I don't remember what the guy told me. He runs the 40 and blind, but he had his buddy with him who was traveling, and there were just two dudes traveling, and we hung out all night and drank tea and other things, and had a blast. That was a really cool experience for me. I wish I had remembered his name or stayed in touch with him like my grandmother would have. I wasn't smart enough at 25 to figure that shit out. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Good morning, everybody. I'm glad you're here. That's my little side story about travel and about meeting people along the way. All right. Time is ticking, so let's roll. Let's roll into our wait. That happened today. On this date in 1928, we're coming up on the 100th year anniversary of this. The Summer Olympic Games open in Amsterdam. Whatever, we had Olympics before, but those games introduced something that would eventually become one of the most recognized symbols in the world, the Olympic flame. Back then, the flame wasn't carried from place to place like it is now, but in Amsterdam, it burned above the stadium throughout the games. One small flame held in place, visible to everyone gathering and competing in a below. And today we know that flame represents continuity and hope and human effort. The idea that something can be carried beyond one individual athlete, one competition, or one generation. But imagine seeing it for the first time. No decades of tradition behind it, no famous relay, no television montage, just a flame burning above a stadium. Yep, and we're talking about today how mistakes compound, but positive things compound too, and a flame can light another flame without losing its own light. One athlete can inspire another. One act of courage gives somebody else permission to begin. Yep, and that's what matters on a day when we're talking about setting things in motion, because everything spreads. Fear spreads, blame spreads, but so does courage, generosity, and hope. And on July 28th, 1928, a flame burned above the Olympic Stadium in Amsterdam. Almost a century later, that tradition continues. Absolutely, one small flame became a global symbol because generation after generation decided to keep carrying it. And that is what happened today. All right. Our second clue. Just because I'm like, I did the work, I'm going to give you the clues. Maybe people are joining late and haven't seen the response, Sully. This competitive young athlete lost part of one leg to cancer at 18. Then he set out to run across America, covering roughly a marathon a day to raise money for cancer research. True. All right, that's our second clue. Life-changing diagnoses. Yep. All right, let's get to the real deal. Here it is, the Fitness Bros story. Fitness Bros, part 2. I'm going to give it this tune behind it today. No, that's not fun. That's way too mellow. Oh, this is a good one. Anyone remember this one from back in my psychedelic music days? All right. Yesterday, I told you about the day Ernie and I turned his basement into a homemade gym and dropped approximately 13 cans of oil-based paint down a staircase. You might assume that might have taught us something. Something about physics, something about making decisions. No, we did not. Apparently, is that our next workout should take place outside. So we moved it to outside, and this was the year I mentioned before. This is the year that Rocky III had hit HBO. I remember it so well. watching it constantly, just playing, play. You turn it on, Rocket 3, you'd be in the middle, whatever, right? So we absorbed that determination, the training montages, and the motivational yelling. But we kind of missed the part where these were professionals coaching and using equipment. So we invented our own workout. I tied a rope around my waist, tied the other end to the handlebars where Ernie would sit, and I ran and I pulled Ernie around the west side of Binghamton with him providing resistance and screaming encouragement, and it worked really well. It worked really well. Oh man, my thighs were burning. I was working out. All right, we're on flat ground, going uphill. Oh man, I'm hustling. Da, 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 da. Oh crap, here comes a little downhill incline. Okay, I'm able to keep up. Pulling. And momentum took on. The bicycle takes on the momentum. Old roly-poly Maddie in 7th grade was not prepared for that bike to run him over. That bike was starting to chase me. And what happened? Of course, the bike hits me in the back. We go tumbling, bike, rope, me, Ernie, into a row of hedges. I remember it was on the corner of Crest Mountain Highland. And that ended the workout immediately. Ernie went home, and I hobbled home. But I hobbled home after the branch caught the back end of my pocket, my rear pocket, and tore a 3-inch wide swath from my butt cheek down to my knee, flapping in the breeze as my pants. I'm 12 or whatever, hobbling down the street, holding my pants together so that the girls in the neighborhood don't see my Spider-Man underwear or whatever. And that is what happened. Yep. Not very smart of the fitness bros. That's part 2. Beneath that ridiculous, though, is the leadership lesson. The plan worked on flat ground. It even worked uphill. The problem began when the conditions changed, and we kept using the same plan. Organizations do this all the time. A strategy works, the environment changes, the assumptions no longer hold. But instead of stopping, people just start running faster. They push harder. They stay attached to the same plan because it worked before. Until eventually the thing they created starts pulling them. That's why healthy teams need people that are willing to say something's changed. This isn't working anymore. We need to pause. Let's untie that rope. Because sometimes the first mistake is not choosing the wrong plan. Sometimes it's refusing to adjust when the road changes. The plan can work on flat ground and still become dangerous on the downhill. And sometimes the smartest thing you can do is untie the rope before the bicycle runs you down. That's today's story. All right, we all did the stupid stuff, right? Yes. What did you do? You duct taped a skateboard to a cardboard box to practice bobsledding. Beautiful, beautiful idea. I love that idea. I wish I had thought of it. Cool. I didn't know you were a bobsledder. They have bobsledding in Kentucky? Yeah, Kentucky, right? All right. Enough of that. That music kicked in there, didn't it? All right. That was fun. All right. Well, we are rolling here. Keep going. Let's see. I'll give you clue 3 just because like I said, I did the work. We're talking about a competitive young athlete who lost a part of one leg due to cancer at 18, who ran across Canada covering roughly a marathon a day to raise money for cancer research. And his last name would be right at home, right here in the studio. We call the den. The den. What animal lives in a den that we talk about? Okay. I figured Jamaica guys can do it. Why not Kentucky girls? I love it. I love it, Jess. That's awesome. I love it. Did you do it alone or did you have friends? Did you make a 2-man, a 4-man? How many skateboards could you tie together? Kids today, they didn't get it, man. They didn't do that. They don't do that stuff. My kids rarely did stuff like that. When they did, I actually encouraged it. Creativity, ingenuity, the occasional mistake. stuff happens, as long as it wasn't too ridiculous. Anyway, ridiculous stuff we did as kids. We did a bunch of ridiculous stuff. It's bringing back a memory. When we first moved into the house, there was a family that lived across the street from us, and they had 3 boys, and they were, 3 or 4 years apart, each of them. So the older boy was a bit bigger than the younger boy, but they all hung out together or whatever. And on the back of their house, they have a porch, and that porch has a sort of a flat roofed patio. You can go out there and hang out. They have chairs up there or whatever, but it's also across about maybe a 5-foot concrete pad to their garage. And I can recall sitting in my kitchen window and watching those kids run and jump from the patio over to try to get on top of the roof of their garage. And they did it, and they were successful, but holy crap. The stuff we do as kids, pretty funny stuff. Again, that's not why we're here. I'm just interjecting my stories, my non sequiturs, my ideas, my thoughts. Means nothing except that I'm here. I'm here every single day, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, to get everyone here up with a little hope, humanity, and heart. Just have some conversation, share some memories, start with some positivity, a little bit, some stories. I'm on week 4 of 5 of the Without a Net series, talking about team-based work, and I'll just keep showing up. Like a bad penny. I hope I'm more than a bad penny to you guys as we roll into the Kindness Compass every day here on Kindness Rising. We get up and get after it, and we move from thought to action. We got to move from thought to action every day. We got lots of good thoughts about different things, but I like to ask some questions, some challenging questions that can move you to action. What small problem are you hoping will resolve itself? Let's not do that. Maybe it's a conversation you've delayed, or a warning you keep dismissing, a project that's drifting, a relationship where the distance is growing. But the longer we avoid a problem, the fewer good options remain. You don't need to panic. You just need to look at the road ahead. Ask yourself this: where have the conditions changed? What worked before that's no longer working now? Maybe the people changed, the resources changed, the expectations. Maybe it's you that's changed. That's okay. Are you still following the same plan, though, simply because it once produced a good result? And lastly, what sentence could interrupt that chain today? You may not need a full solution. You may simply need to say, something's different. I need help. I'm going to pause. I don't think this is working. Here's today's challenge. Interrupt one chain before it gains another link. Do not wait until you're at the bottom of the hill. Do not assume running faster is the only sign of a commitment. Pause, tell the truth, ask for help, and untie the rope while you still can. That's today's Kindness Compass. All right. Well, I was saving the reveal for now. We were free and brave. We were, yeah. Just taking a break to read the comments real quick. You guys are into it. Sully, you had an eye issue? You're better now. Was this as a youth, or is this recent? I hope you're well. Eyes are. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine not having my sight, but we persevere. Oh, you got your thumb on the Sully feed, Jerry. All right. Okay. Well, I'm just chilling while we I don't know. This is the time I was going to fill in telling you that our answer was Terry Fox. You guys, Sully, you know about Terry Fox. Maybe you could do the Terry Fox story. I don't know. I did this as much for Keith, who's probably over there getting ready for his show by now. But Winnipeg, Manitoba. Yep, same place that Mornings in the Lab broadcast from. As a teenager, he was a competitive athlete. And then at 18, he got diagnosed with bone cancer. His right leg amputated above the knee. And while undergoing treatment, his motivation wasn't himself. He saw other young cancer patients and became determined to do something that would raise awareness and money for that kind of research. He ran across Canada, not drive, not cycle, run, a marathon nearly every day, and he called it the Marathon of Hope. On the Atlantic coast, he began in April of 1980, and each day he moved forward with a distinctive step-hop gait. If you've ever seen it, it is distinctive. Through rain, heat, wind, pain, small crowds, large crowds, days when few people seemed to understand what he was trying to accomplish, and days when the entire community came out to meet him. Today's answer is Terry Fox. 5,373 kilometers over 143 days. Unfortunately, the cancer returned to his lungs and it forced him to stop. But that was an inspiring, definitely an inspiring story, and hope inside of today's lessons that small choices do not stay small. And that is the hope, that is the danger, but it's also the promise when we choose to make small positive choices. Terry Fox is the answer of today's Who in the World. All right. Well, time is flying here, and it's been a great day. I actually enjoy this. These are fun stories for me to tell. So many memories coming back, and I was just thinking, Jess, it's time to break out the photos. So maybe tonight will be the night. Today I do have a little extra time today in between things. I'm going to pull out some Ernie and Matt photos and start thinking about, I haven't even thought about it, what other stories I could tell. I've got a million of them. There's no doubt there's a million of them, but we'll get to it. I appreciate that you stick through it with me, listen to these stories. I hope they're inspirational, a little funny, a little silly, but also, I don't know, instructive, whatever that means to some degree. I'm no expert, but I do have experience. I'm no expert. Actually, I am an expert. I'm an expert in keeping going, showing up every day. That's my expertise. All right. Thank you so much once again for joining us here on Mornings in the Lab Network and Kindness Rising. Today is Tuesday. We are going to get on over to Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends right at 8 o'clock. And then at 10 o'clock, we're going to join Sarah Barnes Humphrey with the Let's Talk Supply Chain show as the road keeps rolling. Remember, tomorrow is Wednesday, and that'll bring Cheryl Raphael Whitaker. Oh, today is Brianna Bass, too, I think. I haven't seen whether she's scheduled in, but she usually shows up. Brianna Bass on Tuesdays, Mornings in the Lab, talking about relationships, sex, and adult talk in a very kind, accessible, and informative way. So stick with us here on the Mornings in the Lab Network every weekday morning to get you up with more hope, humanity, and heart, and not hit the snooze button just like my kid did this morning. But we got her off to work. All right. This is it. Here's the spark, or not the spark. I already did the spark. What the heck am I talking about? I'm talking about the thread. The wheel keeps turning. Yep. That was this week's theme. The wheel is turning and you can't slow down, and that's the line carrying us all through this week. It reminds us that life doesn't stop after we make a mess. It reminds us that whatever we set in motion can continue building momentum. The bicycle rolls, the flame spreads, the runner takes another step, and one decision leads to the next. That means we should pay attention to the direction we're moving. Fear compounds, silence compounds, defensiveness compounds. A small problem ignored today becomes a much more expensive problem tomorrow. But also courage compounds. One person raises a concern and someone else realizes they can speak. One person volunteers to guide and another athlete reaches a starting line. And one flame burns above a stadium while generations continue to carry it. And lastly, one young man, Terry Fox, he began running across Canada, and millions keep running after he's gone. So today, ask yourself, what am I setting in motion? What am I continuing simply because it already has momentum? Absolutely. Don't wait until the bicycle catches you. Stop, look at the road, tell the truth, untie the rope if you need to, then take the next good step, because everything compounds. and hope will continue to compound here on Kindness Rising tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Until then, stay uncommon and stay kind.